This guy's called the Standing Streamer.
Dr. Robert right off the bat.
What's going on, brother?
Come on, let's wait for this intro song.
Anyway, Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret. You're watching Putting You Over.
There we go. Excellent. I'll wait for Matt to connect to the audio. The classic Zoom connecting to audio. And then we'll switch over. We'll jump right in, man. We won't even stop. It's like a hot tag to Matt Rehwoldt. I can't tell. He seems to be frozen as well.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There you
we
go.
So,
now
yeah,
I can
was
see
switching
you.
cameras.
It's okay.
And sometimes it takes like a hot second to get going.
It does. It does. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Oh, well, you caught me on a rough day.
Oh no.
Well, I have 3 daughters and I got the whole homeschooling gimmick and, drama, 3 daughters, drama. So
that's you.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. But I'm getting through it and, I'm excited because I always love show nights and, you've graced us with your presence tonight and have given us the time. And
well, thank you for the avenue, for the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And you recently have made your return, and we're gonna get to a lot of stuff tonight. A little bit of history, a little bit of then, now, and a little bit of forever. But most recently, you just got back in the ring. I think your 90 days were up or whatever that gimmick is. But recently, I think it's called Zelo Pro Wrestling, maybe?
Yeah, Zelo Pro right
Zelo.
here in Chicago.
Awesome, in Chicago. How did that feel? How did it feel to get back in, run the ropes, take some bumps?
I mean, other than my lungs being on fire because I haven't done it that's not most people with, indie performers and everything with the pandemic and all this stuff. It's been a few months. So I remember like my opponent, Nick Brewbreaker, even he was like, ooh, I'm worried about getting back in there. It's been 1.5 years for my candy ass.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh.
I was dying and I purposely tried to put this match together. I'm like, so I don't have to do like crazy running or like doing I'm like, it's my first match back. Let's give him a good show. But I'm like, I can't zip. But I was, the adrenaline, just even though we had a limited crowd, all these things that were weighing on top of the match. I was just so excited, so adrenaline, so pumped up that, man, I was blown sky high.
Yeah.
Like the whole match, I was sucking wind. Lungs were on fire, but it felt so damn good to be back in there.
Yeah. Bully Ray from Busted Open Radio has said, he's actually said recently that there's like during this pandemic, like you can be home, you can be training, working out, or not training and working out, whatever the case may be. You can own your own ring, take bumps, run the ropes. but there's something different about the cardio and the stuff inside the ring when you get in the match that you can't just prepare for. And I haven't gone through that, but I can imagine that it's just it's fun to be back in there and doing what you love and have a passion for. But as you said, you blew right up.
It's just well, it's true. There is literally nothing outside of wrestling
Yeah.
that can get you ready for wrestling.
Yeah.
Like the closest thing I've ever find are some of those guys, you know, your Seth Rollins, your Claudios, those guys who do that cross training, the CrossFit can kind of get you close because it's a lot of speed and weights and stuff like that, but still nothing. I've seen people in the best shape of their lives, professional athletes, try to get in there and do this and do basic stuff, and they're like dizzy and heaving over and everything. It's just there's something about being in the ring. It's both between the adrenaline and all the physicality that takes place. It's a different kind of athleticism.
Oh man, but it was good. It was great to see you back in the ring, see you out there on the wrestling scene, because you've actually been getting out there in other avenues as well, which we'll definitely touch on. But I want to go back a little bit. I think you maybe only spent maybe 2 years on the quote unquote indie scene before you got snagged up at FCW.
Oh God, not even. 6 months.
Oh my good jeez. I'll have to fire these researchers.
Yeah. I don't know how much is out there. I've seen a couple of weird like different tales, like Wikipedia page edits and everything. And I go, huh?
Yes, I never use Wikipedia to research because I don't want to be that guy.
Good.
I don't. And I don't even want to be that guy that asks the same questions. So I don't even want to talk long about your history. But you were in FCW and that was the origins of NXT, like the birth of it, which is historical in its own right. Yeah. You were down there with like Dr. Tom Pritchard, Dusty, Norman Smiley, one of my favorites. I think Steamboat might have been around. What was that like? And like, what were you taking away from that as a wrestling fan, a wrestler?
I mean, it was a very interesting time when I got started there. So funny thing is, a year before I got signed is when I'd kind of messed around. Like, I don't condone this and everything. I did little like backyardy kind of stuff with my buddies in high school, things like that. Yeah. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I had to do it the right way. And so when I was looking to where to train, I was like, man, at the time in Chicago, they had nothing. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to learn, I want to learn from the people who are, either working with or have worked at WWE and stuff. That's where I want to be. So I saw that at FCW, Steve Kern, who was running it at the time, had like a night class, a beginner's class separate from developmental that he was just, he was charging for wrestling lessons. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to get an Airbnb, or at the time, I think it was just off Craigslist, rent a room in a dude's house and move down to Tampa and train there. It was twice a week. I got a job mopping the gym floor at a UFit health club in Tampa, Florida. Wow. And actually Norman Smiley was the coach of that beginner's class.
Yeah. Very underrated.
And it was awesome. And I made a good relationship with him, and he will never take credit for it, but he's the guy who kind of just put my name forward when they were asking around about people and everything. And we had a great relationship, and I owe a lot to Norman Smiley.
Yeah. I think he's everybody. When you say Norman Smiley, I have friends. If I say Norman Smiley, they think of, WCW and the Big Wiggle, which I'm sure he does all the time. But he is an extremely underrated mind and a trainer. I've heard tons of great stories about him, and it's he doesn't get his flowers. He doesn't get his just dues. But
no, 100%. I mean, Norman is one of the best, and there's a reason he's one of like if you really look. And I'd have to look more closely to look at the coaching roster at the Performance Center right now. He might be the only one who's currently gone all the way from the beginning, like FCW, all the way through to current.
Yeah.
And it's because he's so good, and he's especially great with newer and intermediate people, taking them kind of to that next level. He's so technically sound too. Yeah, people remember that the WCW Hardcore title
Yeah,
and
right.
everything, but he's such a technical wizard, and he gave me like 16 reversals to a wrist lock that I still can't remember to this day.
Oh. Um, before I move on, did you grow up a wrestling fan? Was wrestling big in your
Oh
household?
God, yeah. I mean, I 100%. I didn't have cable TV as a kid
Mm-hmm.
growing up, so I couldn't see Monday Night Raw in the early days. But it was one of those things. I would hear all the kids at school talking about it. I'm like, what the hell is a Stone Cold? Because I need to see it. Um, until I finally was able to see. I think Shotgun Saturday Night
Oh my
at the
goodness,
time was
yeah.
on my local,
Yeah.
like affiliate station, some small little channel. And so
Yeah.
I saw that, and that's where I got hooked up and obsessed. And then once our family got cable, like a year and a half later, it was just like I didn't miss a week.
Yeah. Yeah. Shotgun Saturday Night. I think that was over the air HD, I believe, at that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you're down there at FCW in the berth. Yeah, you should be proud of yourself, first of all, because you were there. You're what planted those roots for NXT, which we see today. Um, and you know, you go up to the roster. The stuff you did with the Vaudevillains down there, and then up on the main roster, the stuff you did with Rusev Day. I personally enjoyed as a wrestling fan because you got over a character in what I consider a non-character driven wrestling universe today.
Sure.
Yeah, so I would be extremely proud of that. I mean, your characters it morphed from the vaudevillain character, which you don't see anymore, into what we saw with Rusev Day. I guess my question is, what was that transition like, and how difficult was it to go? Because you're in a tag team with Simon Gotch, Vaudevillains, doing all that stuff, and then you have to transition. You know, you're trying to find your way, maybe transition. How do you pair up with a Rusev at that time, a Miro?
So it was interesting because so at the time, and I think I've said this maybe once before, but when Simon was released, a lot of people were like, were you shocked and kind of
Yeah.
were you scared of what was going to happen? And to be fair, for both of us, this goes for both of us. I think towards the end of that run, right before that, me and him we were talking about doing our own thing anyway. I think
Yeah.
we kind of accepted that like creative or whoever is not really pulling the trigger behind this. They didn't. I don't really feel like we ever really got the chance to play with that character like we did in
I was
NXT,
gonna say at the
whether
main
with
roster. Yeah,
vignettes
yeah.
or any characters and anything like that. So I think we kind of lost out on that chance and didn't really see it coming back. So I know he wanted to wrestle
Yeah.
so bad, and I think we were already looking for that kind of opportunity when the time came. So when that opened up, I was ready to like hit the ground. Like, you know what, let's do this.
Yeah.
I'm ready to kind of jump back out on my own. I kind of brought back the drama king character from early NXT days, from the
Mm-hmm.
singing and all that stuff, and kind of just tried to evolve it a little bit. And then along literally place and time. Miro at the time was doing a thing with Randy,
Oh yeah.
and
Randy, yep.
they had me wrestling. I think it was like 2 matches with Randy, just kind of randomly put Randy over kind of thing. And we just happened, it was like ships in the night. We just happened to cross paths with what Rusev was doing. I helped him like accidentally on a little thing. And then we did that ceremony thing that everybody saw, that first Rusev Day. And that was supposed to be it. You know, I've said this everywhere. It was, as far as I know from creative, it was a one-off.
Yes.
And then Rusev and Randy continued doing their thing. But man, for whatever reason, they said it, and then the next few weeks, live events, TVs, everywhere, people just said, "Yep, that's what we like." Like we want, whether it just started as a chant and grew to something more, people were into it, and they were into it of their own volition. It was not something thrust upon them.
Yeah.
They decided it was something they wanted to see.
Yeah, the fans were speaking, man. I mean, in fans, I know because I'm one of them. if they're not passionate behind it, it'll
You'll
die.
know.
It'll die off. Rusev Day
100%.
would have died off, and it didn't die off. It grew like a massive. I mean, it was so over, and to the point. I mean, it was extremely over with merch and the crowds, and from everything I've heard, if you get yourself over in the WWE, it doesn't ever end up well, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
I mean, I think it depends. I've never been a big fan of like hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who think, well, Vince hates this, so if you do this, he's gonna bury you and all thing. And I'm a firm believer in like every situation has its own set of boundaries, its own set of parameters, and everything like that. Sometimes what you're saying is the case. If they don't, and I think in our case it was somewhere kind of in the middle. If they don't have plans or in their head already to go with something, sometimes it's a little hard to turn that shit.
To pivot. Well, they wanted
because we tried.
They wanted Miro, Rusev at that time to be a heel, and the fans just loved you guys. I mean,
and to be fair, in the early part of it, I get it. Because I'm not a fan of when they start getting a positive reaction and they flip them right away. Yes. Then it seems it's too much too soon, and all of a sudden it's like, you end up with cheesy baby faces out of nowhere. And so I'm like, I didn't mind at first playing to both sides or playing the heel card while getting cheered. I'm like, good, let's build that equity. Let's really get them going. But then it kept, and we're like, there were a couple times where I'm like, all right, I think we're ready. Pull the trigger. And then nothing. And then it was like, all right, a month later, I think we're ready. Can we do this? Pull the trigger. No, you guys got to still do this. Okay. And we just kept waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah. It's, I knew how over it was. I worked in the school system. Well, I guess I still do, but I had to take a leave of absence due to COVID and homeschooling my own kids. But I work with children with autism, mostly boys. They're probably 11 years old. They're not probably. They are. They're anywhere from 9 to 12. And they're big wrestling fans. They love wrestling. And I can remember as clear as day, one of my students came in and he goes, Mr. Kevin, I'm not doing any work today. And I'm like, okay, why are you not going to do any work today? And I shit you not, he tells me, because it's Rusev Day. And I'm going to tell you right now, I said to that kid, you're damn right. And I let him slide by in a few of his work duties that day, school-wise. Don't get mad at me if anyone from but when that kid used that angle that was so over in his daily life, I was like, holy crap. I couldn't believe it. And
we're influencing the youth of America.
He goes, yeah, exactly. I couldn't believe it. I wish I had it on tape because it would have been great. I'm like, okay, tell me why you're not doing work. Mr. Kevin, it's Rusev Day. I'm like,
gotta see, hell yeah.
Damn right it's Rusev Day. So I loved it. Kids loved it. Fans loved it. It just, no one really wanted to pull the trigger on that. But so you go from that to you didn't really have a place as at least where I was when I was watching, and the next time I see you, you show up, you're on commentary. What was that transition like? It's a beard getting in the way. Transition like, and how does it come about?
So that was kind of, I mean, you just said it. So like right at coming out of Rusev Day and on that split, that less than inspired split that we did. We tried to come up with that, like, hey, all right, if we're gonna split this, let's try to make both of us coming out of this, right? Like, and I was totally ready to put him over. I'm like, give us a match, give us
Yeah.
one pay-per-view,
Yeah.
give us something.
Go
And
out
we
with a bang,
tried
man.
and angled for that, but once again,
Mhm.
you know, powers that be, you can't right every ship. And so, oh yeah, that was one of those. The wrestling business is an ups and downs, and that was one of those kind of lower points. And I was trying to figure out what to do. I was throwing ideas out there, nothing sticking. And so yeah, I wasn't doing much, and that's the worst as a wrestler, especially
Yep.
at that show. And you're sitting backstage, you're just trying to be a part of the show. And at the time, Tom Phillips, who was kind of like he's kind of like the manager under Michael Cole of all like the announced talent. Always been great with him. And he was like, "Hey man, I think you'd be really good at this at commentary if you want to give it a try. Like, keep wrestling, do whatever, but like, I'd love to have you come in and work with me a little bit." And I was like, you know what? Again, same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, please. I'm a say yes kind of person. Let's expand the horizon, expand the resume. But I went down to the performance center and did a session, hour and a half in the booth. They have a recording booth down there with Tom and Byron, and it went well. But I kind of thought, okay, this was fun. I think I do have a little knack for this. But maybe I'll see you guys in 6 months, right? Like we'll try it again. And then, sure enough, the next week at television, Michael Cole calls me into Gorilla and is like, "I heard you did great. So here's the deal: we're gonna put you on 205 Live, like between now and it was WrestleMania at the time, and yeah, just you'll work with Vic and Nigel, and if you're wrestling, that's fine too. But just you'll be here, and yeah, we'll talk after this is done. So have fun."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And so the next week they threw me out onto 205, and I didn't look back.
Yeah. Someone in the chat, Bob in the chat, says you did a phenomenal job on commentary. He says he was great on commentary. His wife thought he sounded like Jesse Ventura. Guess that's a great.
I'll take that as it. I've got so my voice is it's deep and it's kind of throaty.
Yeah.
Which is bad because I did actually study acting in college, and my teachers hated me because they want very light, supported breath.
Yeah.
Because this way I can do a show 8 times a week and I'll do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But just as an athlete and a wrestler, I just want to scream from my throat. So, but I've gotten Jesse. I've gotten like a weird Shawn Michaels. People tell me I sound like.
Yeah.
So I've gotten a couple. I've got Kermit the Frog a lot too.
Someone mentioned earlier, can you do a Dusty impression? Do you do a Dusty impression?
I mean, I think every wrestler in the business does the Dusty impression, and especially anyone who's ever met him does the Dusty impression. It's not good. They go basically from varying levels of bad to pretty decent. I mean, Dusty Rhodes, baby, it wasn't about cutting a promo. No. I want you to stand up there and just talk to me. There's no camera, no red light, no nothing. It's the communication skills, baby. Just tell me how you feel. Tell me who you are. And that's what promo class with Dusty was like. He didn't want it to be promo class, baby. He just wanted to just talk to me. Just talk to me and tell me how it is.
Oh man, I tell you, Dusty was something else, man. I've never even had any contact with the guy, and I love him just by the stories I've heard and just seeing him on the screen, man. Yeah, of course he is. So, I hate going linear. You do the commentary. We don't need to touch on that. You got your release. That's just how things happen, unfortunately, in this era, and whatnot. But even before that, before you got released, you had your hand, or had had a lot of pots. I don't even know what the phrase is. You have a lot of hands and a lot of pots. You have something on YouTube. You're doing Twitch. You got wrestling with whiskey on YouTube is where I first noticed you were in the streaming world. So, and you're also doing Twitch at Drama King, which my kids thoroughly enjoyed this week when you and your wife were playing Aladdin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was in there. I was in the stream.
That's right. I do. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right before I switched the handle to make the show, work. And my kids were watching it like, is that Aladdin, Daddy? And I was like, yep. And but I had headphones on, so they couldn't hear you guys. Thank God. And
No kidding. Not
yeah,
quite the TBPG show.
no, but they enjoyed the gameplay. So all right. So first of all, wrestling with whiskey. For maybe people in the chat, we're gonna push out to YouTube. Uh, what is it? How'd you get into it? Stuff like that.
Sure. No.
Yeah.
Like with a lot of things, I mean, with the wrestling world, when you're, especially when you're in it, and when you're in it in WWE, it is nonstop,
Yeah.
24/7, right? And so you hear, sometimes you'll hear a lot of guys like, I don't, when I'm at home or when I'm away, like I try to almost do anything but wrestling because your life is travel,
That makes sense.
train, wrestle. You're talking about matches, you're planning storyline, all this stuff. So I was kind of looking for a hobby, and I was also at the time, this was probably like, this is my late 20s. This is about 4 years ago at this point. And I was at the point, I'm like, I was into cocktails a little bit, but then I was like, I want to drink like an adult.
I thought that was
Was
great.
kind of, I'm
Why'd
like,
you say that? Yeah.
yeah, I'm not shooting things back. I'm getting silly and everything like that. I wasn't 22 anymore. And my dad has always been a big Scotch guy and just sipped his Scotch with either neat or with an ice cube. And I'm like, see, like that's how it, like an adult kind of drinks. I'm like, I want to be able to do that, but whiskey tastes like fire to me. So how do I do this? And so I literally treated it almost like a workout. And I trained with just a little bit of whiskey and like a soda,
Yeah.
and like sip and chase, sip longer, chase until I no longer needed the
Yep.
chaser. And so I just trained myself to be able to do it. But in doing that, man, I found a whole like subculture and niche in the whiskey like
World.
community
Yeah.
and fan world and everything. Honestly, it's kind of like wrestling. You've got like different groups and fans, and like there's conventions and there's Reddit groups and there's Facebook groups and podcasts and people nerding out about whiskey bottles in the same way they do about comic books or sci-fi or baseball cards or something.
Yeah.
And I just deep dived into the rabbit hole and started collecting and tasting and reviewing and so on and so forth.
I was doing some research today when I was doing our nature hike with my youngest daughter on our homeschooling, and I was listening, and I can't remember which podcast it was. It might have even been with your mother-in-law, but you talked about drinking. First of all, drinking like an adult was a phenomenal line. I prefer beer myself. I have this bar. Me and my wife, we have liquor bottles that takes us years to drink. But the way you described getting into whiskey, maybe this is gonna come off. The way you described it and how you learn it and you trained yourself to enjoy it. With the sips and that, and we're talking about aroma. And I was just like, man, I need to drink like an adult too. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to try it now. I want to go down this journey with him. So with that being said,
Good.
besides the YouTube channel, which is wrestling with whiskey, right? I'm getting that right.
Yes. Yep.
Besides that YouTube channel, for somebody like myself that prefers beer, majority of the time it's Rolling Rock. Occasionally I have craft beers as well. But for someone like myself, what whiskey should I start with?
So that's always the tough question. There's a couple routes you can go, and it depends on how much experience you have with whiskey. Like if there's somebody who's like, and like for example, I know a lot of women, and I don't try to add sex to a whole lot of things, but the women have been an under kind of served market in the whiskey marketing community and everything. It's always been about men and men drinking whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of women haven't been exposed to that. Or if there's even anybody else who's like never, ever had whiskey or alcohol of much kind outside of, some like a White Claw. You might start them off with like a flavored whiskey. You've got like Wild Turkey Honey. You've got even like that Screwball peanut butter whiskey. It's totally like sugary and sweet tasting, but it's got a little bit of real whiskey in there. So it eases you in without giving you something hard hardcore. For you, for example, if you're a big beer fan, there are multiple bourbons, especially that are finished in beer barrels.
Oh,
Like they'll take an aged bourbon and then they'll put it in a Goose Island beer barrel for 6-8 months, and so it's got these kind of hoppy, more like malty hoppy flavors. So it might be a little bit more akin to like a beer drinker and something like that. But other than that, you can't go wrong with a lot of like the stuff you see on the shelf every single day, grocery stores even. Things like Maker's Mark is something in every bar on planet Earth, and I think is a quality, for a starter bourbon is quality. I'm looking at my closet right now. Elijah Craig is a great option. But yeah, like it depends on who you are and where you're coming from.
okay. You mentioned something about the type of glass, a certain glass, and smelling everything that's in it. So does is the glass dependent? Do I need a specific glass to drink out of?
Um, if you want to get nerdy about it,
I do.
yeah. So
I do.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, like, so I have a drink with me. I'm just drinking out of a rocks glass.
Okay.
This doesn't do bad even for aroma and stuff. But if you want, for my reviews and everything, I use what's called a Glencairn glass, which was developed for Scotch. And the rule of thumb with whiskey or even wine, anything you're wanting to try to get aromas and nerd out over, essentially, the whole idea is basically that tulip shape of it's a wide bottom and it narrows at the top.
Okay.
Because that'll gives you more surface area at the base. So the oxygen is interacting with the surface of the liquid, but then it funnels it all to a smaller point and you can get more intense and concentrated aromas. So there's wine glasses, there's Copita glasses, there's Glencairn glasses, there's Canadian Glencairn glasses. There's a lot, but the most used glass in whiskey is called a Glencairn.
Glencairn. Okay. Interesting. We have a question here. Your top 3 favorite whiskeys. That's going to be tough,
Ooh.
I can imagine, for him to answer.
So yeah, it is. It's tough. So because not only are there the stuff you see every day, like for example, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Maker's Mark, that bottle you see on the shelf, they work hard to make sure that has tasted pretty much the same for the last 10 years, right? But then when you get into the community, like there's special edition bottles that only come out once a year or once ever, or it's a single barrel of something that'll never be replicated. Those are my favorites. So like I've got a bottle, it's called George T. Stagg. I have the 2018 and 2019 edition, but the 2018 is just lights out special. And I'm nursing the crap out of it as it gets lower and lower and lower. Because that one I'll never see again. It's not like I can go and buy another one next year or anything.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. I have my first ever Whiskey Mania barrel pick that I selected with some friends from a distillery called New Riff. Just for sheer nostalgia value. First barrel I ever got to go into a distillery, taste directly from the barrel, and then get to take the bottles home from that barrel. And that was lights out, one of the best experiences I've ever done. And then to round out the top 3, I mean, there is a Russell's Reserve, which is a wild turkey product that a store here in Chicago called Warehouse Liquors picked that was just so damn good. I always buy their picks and everything like that, and it was one of the favorite things I've ever had.
Awesome, man. My wife's gonna kill you because I'm gonna finish with this show and be like, yeah, we gotta go buy some whiskey.
Yeah, run to the liquor store, baby.
We gotta run to the liquor store. Don't you have enough alcohol? No, I gotta take this whiskey. I buy a glass now. I gotta drink like an adult. I do like that phrase a lot.
Well, there's drinking like an adult, and then there's drinking like me, a nerd. You can decide where your barrier lives.
Well, I related so well with. I listened to a lot of different podcasts preparing for this. I related so well to you talking about how you were getting into this whiskey thing. You said, I don't go into anything. Basically, I don't go into anything half-assed. Like I go all out. I want to learn. I want to absorb everything. I want to learn everything I can about it. And my wife says that's one of my pet peeves. Like I'll get into something and I will just just focus, man. I'll learn everything I possibly can, every angle about it. So I totally related with that. I mean, listening to you talk about whiskey, like I said, it made me want to drink like an adult. I wanted to go try it. So
Hell yeah,
yeah,
man.
why
No,
not?
it's true. I can't do anything. I would say I can't just be a fan of
Yeah.
like anything. Like it's like I gotta dive. I'm like, well, how do I like do this? Do this? How could I make this into a thing? Like, how can I get more involved as opposed to just yeah? It's just something. And this is I was saying this is like the first thing since wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, when I was younger, that I got this like obsessed with. So it clicked for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's good. I think a lot of when we look at the wrestling business, I think it's great to have hands in so many pots. And uh unfortunately, if something happens where you get released for whatever reason, whatever the case may be, you have all these other avenues, man. You have all these other social medias, all this other all these other things going on. And I just think I think it's great to see that with all the wrestlers today. And this is a whole other show altogether. I got a little upset when the WWE wanted to crack down on their wrestlers on Twitch, for example,
Oh,
because
sure.
I love Twitch. I've been here a long time, and whatever. That's a whole nother thing altogether. But we could delve into that some other night. But you have a Twitch, twitch.tv/Drama King, Drama King Matt, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Drama King Matt. And like, what do you? I mean, are you enjoying Twitch? Do you like it?
I freaking I'll be honest, I love it, and it's one of those things. Like I've been in the YouTube thing, and
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, obviously, for a while. But I'll be honest, I jumped into Twitch after the release and
Yeah.
kind of when the pandemic hit. I was home so
Yeah.
much and kind of looking for other avenues to reach out to, to build a community and to fans and everything like that. And I knew like I've been on up down down and I
Yep.
know Woods
Yep.
very well and everything
Yep.
like that. So I'm really kicking myself that I didn't get on it earlier because I love the crap out of it. I love the whole like I even changed my YouTube format from like filming and editing 5-7 minute videos of
Yeah.
reviews to a weekly live show
Yeah.
because I got so into like just the platform of live streaming and like I even did like the setup and the editing of it and the layouts and the overlays and everything, just kind of creating a whole atmosphere with it.
I know.
And so like being on Twitch and streaming there made me even want to switch my whiskey stuff. So I love the environment of live streaming and the live interaction, and it gives me an excuse to go back and play games and do that fun stuff. Especially I like playing a lot of like retro games and just kind of relax, but then also engage with the community.
Yeah. I mean, I've been here on Twitch since A1 from day one, and the stream has evolved into a lot of different things. And I love the live aspect. Like, I've been told plenty of times, wrestling content, especially now that I'm doing this style, it's better for YouTube. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. This is what you're getting because I like to be live and I like that aspect.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's great. I love your channel. My kids love your channel, or at least watching your channel. So, but I have some other questions here that I guess they fall under the forever category when I make my notes here. You're I mean, you've had a great history with Miro as Rusev Day. We know what he's accomplished not only on Twitch, making his social presence relevant in our face in a positive way, not a negative way. But he's also he's gone to AEW. Let's not beat around the bush. Would you be open to a Miro and Matt Day, a Rusev Day reunion? Although we couldn't use Rusev Day, but a reunion down the line. Could we see it? I would love it. Where do you stand on that?
So, I mean, I trust, obviously, that has been not only since April and everything happened,
Yeah.
people have been asking, but then obviously since in the last couple of weeks since he showed up on AEW, people have been asking once again more and more.
Oh, I'm
And
sure.
I mean, the possibility is absolutely there. I mean, come on, it's wrestling, man. Never
Right.
say never is like the credo. Anybody who's ever said never has been, shot in the foot. So no, I mean, no concrete plans. And I love AEW as a company. My wife actually had the opportunity
Yeah.
to announce their women's tag team tournament recently, and so she has a great experience there. So yeah, I would love the opportunity to work with my buddy again. That being said, I've told people this too, and I don't say it a lot because I don't want to like deflate anyone. I'm like, me and him get along great. We still have a great relationship. Hopefully we'll play like Call of Duty or something on Twitch
Yeah.
one of these days. But I sometimes I do feel like it's hard when you try to recreate what
Right.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even everyone's like, no, we still love you. I'm like, that's great. And I'm glad you guys want to see us together and maybe we can do some kind of work. But if you just show up in a different company and
do
just
the
call
same
it
thing.
Miro Day
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
do the same thing from 2 years ago,
Right.
I don't know if that benefits either of us.
Well,
You know what I mean? So
you said it earlier,
Yep.
like in the switching of face to heel, like if you came in and they went right to that, people would shit all over it.
Right.
It'd have to be a slow burn, in my opinion, a slow burn,
Yes.
and that's how I would enjoy it.
Right.
But yeah. So
I think I would love, like I would love the idea. Like I said, I'd love to work with him again. We have a great rapport. We have a great relationship. If the opportunity comes, where I can show up there and
Yep.
maybe we do our own things
Yeah.
and everything, and who knows, maybe on the indies because he's still able to work some dates.
Yep.
I know there, so
No.
you never know where we could pop up. But I think, I think being able to kind of carve our own paths at least a little bit, and then if the time and place is right and the opportunity is there, why the hell not?
I'm just like every other Mark, and it's okay to be a Mark. I would love to see it. I do. Your mother-in-law is also there, doing her thing. So that would be interesting. There's an avenue for you besides quote unquote Rusev Day, but I could just
Sure.
see you slowly, especially with this whiskey thing. Slowly, like maybe just a vignette of Adam Hangman Page, like just sitting at a bar, and there's Matt Rehwoldt just coming in and hands the man a whiskey. And I think that would be the perfect slow burn way to work you in. AEW can take that story, the beginning of that storyline, and they can use it. But yeah, I'm sure you've gotten a ton of that, especially when Rusev signed. I'm sure people were jumping down your throat about it. And but yeah, so I had to ask because I would love to see it, but like you said,
Sure.
too quickly,
Absolutely.
man. If it's too quick, too soon, it's gonna not come off as well as it could be.
I agree.
Somebody in the chat. Okay, let's see. Ice Celtic 18 says
Hey, Celtic.
Matt would fit in anywhere. I agree with that too. Anywhere. Because he's a character, man. He gets over characters. He says maybe New Japan. Bob says Ring of Honor or Impact. Impact would be nice. Yeah. So anywhere, really. I mean, I'm sure
My phone is on, brother.
brother. The phone is definitely on. Yeah. So that's exciting stuff. Okay. So now I would like to get to some. Well, I guess I only have one question left on my notes. I want to hit all my questions. Look at it. See, that's how we should drink our whiskey. We'll have to clip that after so I can practice. And I'm gonna give you detailed information on how my first whiskey consumption goes. I mean, I'm sure I had whiskey when
Please.
I was younger. I'm sure,
Right.
just tossing them back or whatnot. But as you said and pointed out, cherish it and embrace it. And drink like an adult. I'm interested.
When you smell it, I will say, if you try smell it, make sure your mouth is open.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
It'll burn. It'll lessen the burn on your nostrils.
All right. Okay. So my one final question, before I hand the mic to you and let you put over whatever you want, and we've hit all the links tonight. The amazing Stream Deck has done its job and all that fun stuff. your wife, as you mentioned earlier, a Guerrero, Shawl, sorry, Guerrero.
Yes.
I'm curious, and tell me if I'm out of line here. Has she ever dropped an "excuse me" around the house?
I'm like, it's one of. I'm sure the words have come out in that order. Something like, "Oh, I thank goodness she has never like hit it with me like in full gimmick." Like, it's the same thing. We both come from such. I obviously been in, full time in the business for the past so many years, and her obviously her entire life growing up, and her whole family's a part of it. So we're pretty good about keeping most gimmicky stuff out of the home.
Yeah.
And so even as a joke, I think we would both like if either one of us did something like that, you'd look over and be like, "Really? You're gonna do that? Like, I just got off the plane. You're gonna do that to me?" So she takes pity on me and doesn't hit me with things like that too much.
Oh man, yeah, that would definitely it'd break the fourth wall. It would definitely break it down for sure. I would imagine.
A little bit.
But yeah, so we're nearing the end of the show, and what I like to do with all the guests is I hand them the proverbial mic. It's not the proverbial brass ring. You don't worry about it. I hand you the an imaginary, yeah, exactly, an imaginary mic. You can put over whatever you want, say anything you want. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to interrupt. The floor is yours, sir.
Awesome. No, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on the show. Appreciate having me on the channel and the stream tonight. No, anybody who, again, we're right here on Twitch right now. So after this has concluded, please jump over to Drama King Matt. Hit a follow. I will be on tomorrow night doing what I call my Fireside Chat Fridays. Bring all your wrestling questions, all your Rusev Day questions, vaudevillain questions. That's my day to just bog down into the wrestling. We might play some games, but that's the big Gavin day. And then Instagram and Twitter are Drama King Matt as well. But if you're into the whiskey thing and you want to have a drink with me, follow Wrestling with Whiskey on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And if you are 21 plus and in the continental United States, I did just start a single barrel club where I, along with members and maybe some wrestler friends of mine, are going to be picking barrels of whiskey, which will be then exclusively available to club members through a retailer. That's on Patreon. And then that's Wrestling with Whiskey as well. Patreon.com/Wrestling with Whiskey. So pretty much look up Drama King Matt or Wrestling with Whiskey anywhere and you will find me. And and I appreciate you guys coming out.
Yeah, man. Anytime, man. We definitely have to have you back on. We can talk, anything really. Whiskey.
Please,
anything,
yeah,
Twitch,
absolutely.
Streaming, anything. Yeah. Have yourself a wonderful night. Tell the wife I said hi, and we'll see you around.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, anytime. See you around.
Take care.
Awesome stuff. Have a good night, Matt. Awesome.
This guy's called the Standing Streamer.
The champ is here!